Hey YouTube, and welcome to the third episode of the Gaming Drought. Outriders, play at your own risk. Now, obviously, the reason why this episode is titled that, mainly because the huge bug inventory wipe that has been going on in Outriders that people can fly have been trying to obviously come to a solution to fix, but just quite haven't reached that solution yet. And a lot of people are kind of being punished for it. Now, I have yet to be the one of those players that have, but obviously, with this update that was supposed to fix a lot of the issues, obviously, the issues are a lot worse. But that's not what this whole video is going to be about. Obviously, there's already a lot of big YouTubers and streamers out there that have already posted, talked about this. You should know what to do. Obviously, turn off crossplay. Don't play multiplayer. If you are going to probably play the game, instead of playing on your OP Technomancer Tricksters, why don't you pick up a Devastator or another class? But with that being said and out of the way, now this video is more going to be talking about the whole game in general, the good and the bad. Now, to get things kicked off, obviously, when this game released a few weeks ago, it really did have a horrible launch week leading into the game. A lot of people couldn't log on and play. I was fortunate enough to have been one of those people to play, so I got grinding right away, whereas a lot of people probably haven't. I would say probably about 25% of the gaming population for Outriders probably wasn't able to play the first like day or two the game was actually released, which I know sucks, especially when you are one of those people that take time off from work, or especially if you're one of those people that just don't have that time to really put in hours and hours of gaming, like other people. But with that being said, let's talk about the campaign. Now, the campaign going through the game, I first started playing as the Devastator, and I was playing with a buddy, and I was wanted to make sure me and him were pretty much in the same boat. So playing through the campaign, obviously the campaign was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It definitely was a lot better than Borderlands 3 campaign, and I am really looking forward to playing through it again on multiple characters and classes. But one thing I will say about going through the campaign now, the thing that really kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, which I know it is a looter shooter and it's random, but I have yet to get a actual legendary to drop from world tier. World tier 15 being level 30, so the gear would technically drop at 42. I have yet to see a legendary gear actually drop from any enemy or chest since I've played the demo. Now, don't get me wrong, there are circumstances throughout the actual campaign and story that you'll run into. So, like when you complete the bounty hunts or the monster hunts, after you complete all 10 missions, you can get a free legendary that way. When you fight this boss and when you start to enter the forest, you'll also receive a legendary. I think it's usually a legendary weapon. Not 100% on that, but I think it is. And then on top of that, you have a free chest a little later on after getting through the forest, where that will basically be a free legendary drop for you. And I highly recommend you at least be level 30 plus your world tier needs to be level 15. That way the legendary that drops in that chest is 42 at your current max level if you haven't already, started doing expeditions and stuff for endgame. So, as far as legendaries go, I'd kind of like to see a little bit more drop chance. I get that some people just can't do the time gating expeditions, or it's just a lot harder than others. Obviously, as you guys can see, I'm going through my Devastator right now, and I am playing on tier 14 mostly because tier 15 is a little bit challenging, especially as a Devastator and you don't have those perfect roll mods and gear. It's definitely challenging. Whereas on tier 14, on pretty much anything, I can run through it perfectly fine, get gold on my Devastator. Boomtown and obviously Chem Plant is a lot harder now since they changed the times for whatever reason. But I get the whole time gating is a lot harder, and the simple fact that some people are still just going through the campaign. And for me as a player, not like even when I played Borderlands, you'd fight the first boss and get the uh like Borderlands 3 since so let's talk about Borderlands 3 since that was pretty much the latest looter shooter that came out. And I think I forget the name of the shotgun, but it was like that Sonic Pulse shotgun that came out after fighting the guys with all the speakers. I can't remember the guy's name, but just getting that legendary right off the rip was just so fulfilling when playing looter shooters. And this game really doesn't offer that. Whereas you have to really get to end game to really start seeing legendaries, which is a little disappointing in my eyes. It would have been nice to at least see at least one legendary gear for my class, just to kind of inspire me to keep playing the game just a little bit longer. Obviously, I still played the game because obviously I need content, but it was still fun nonetheless. But I think it would be nice just to see a little more chances drop, especially for the people that just don't have nearly as much time to put into the game. Where I think those are more of the player base that any company should be looking at, even though they don't put in the 10 plus hours a day playing the game. They're usually the ones that stop playing the game last and keep the game's lifespan out longer than most, because usually with content creators and all that, if the game isn't offering content, then just no one's going to play it. Same thing with really any game. So hopefully they do a little fix to that. And as far as classes goes, I mean, every class is special in their own way, but not special. Obviously, you have the Trickster, Technomancer, and Pyromancer that give fire rounds, blighted rounds, and I forget what the Trickster's actual twisted rounds is what the Trickster's thing is called, which basically will carry you through the whole game. Whereas Devastator, you really don't start noticing the Devastator's DPS until late game when you start getting those mods. Whereas the other classes, you can kind of half-ass your gear, and then still do high DPS. Whereas Devastator, you need those specific rolls, those best loot drops chance possible. Like, it is just insane the luck that you need on Devastator to really make them shine compared to the other classes. I think Devastator obviously needs a little bit of help there, but on that, the class is still really fun to play with how much AoE potential it has. It could use a little bit of help in the single target department, but obviously that's for a whole new other video. Now let's get into modding. Modding gear is a huge thing in Outriders. It honestly, I kind of wish a lot more looter shooters had this, especially Borderlands 3, because with the random loot drop system and basically not having that one stat that would just make your build maybe not 10 times better but 2 times better is a huge game changer, and with Outriders you can potentially make that happen. Now, with that being said, it also comes with its downfalls because you can only change one mod out of the two. So if you get like a really good purple, and let's say you have it drops with a shitty roll for a class ability, but it drops with a nice damage tier 2 damage mod to increase your damage by 15% to bleeding enemies. You can change out that one mod to maybe increase your earthquake ability instead of the endless mass ability. You have some wiggle room, whereas I think you do need more of the wiggle room is legendary mods. Legendary mods, you cannot change the stats on the mod specifically or on the gear specifically. So like seismic gloves on Devastator have max health, max health, but they don't have anomaly power, which honestly, in my opinion, max health is completely pointless unless you're going the middle tree on the Devastator, which I don't know why you would. It's usually you go the seismic tree or the weapon damage tree, the top one. I don't really see anybody go to the middle tree. I mean, there might be a mod out there that makes it god tier, but so far I don't think anyone's ever posted it. I've never seen a mod that would really be a game changer for that tree specifically. But that being said, with the gloves, they have max health. I think status power, and I don't. I know they don't have cool. They might have cooldown reduction. But if you were able to change that max health to anomaly, that would be a huge game changer. Especially since the simple fact that you get that anomaly power back, plus you also get the extra 50% towards bleeding enemies, which would be fantastic. Pretty much because that also not only increases the damage with your abilities or your weapon, that also increases like your mod. Like as you guys can see now, I am running lightning whip on this assault rifle. It's a legendary assault rifle that comes with the mod. So every second it brings down a lightning strike that does about 71k. Whereas if I had the gear from the legendary, 71k would go to about 120k per second, which is honestly huge DPS all around, especially for just one mod having that for 1 second. It does help with the single target, which is that's why I kind of run it on a Devastator, because I think Devastator really lacks single target compared to AoE. So that being said, with the legendaries, characters, campaign, honestly, all of it, I would say 9 out of 10. Obviously, if none of the bugs or big issues were addressed, obviously, I would think this game would definitely get a 10 out of 10. But every game's gonna have its problems. Some bigger problems than others. Hopefully, this game doesn't go into a route like Anthem, but that is just we'll just have to see on that in the next couple weeks and see if they can actually get this whole inventory thing solved. But with that out of the way, obviously, let's talk about end game. Now with end games, you have end games called expeditions. These expeditions are certain missions that you are time gated to complete in a certain certain time. Now, obviously, if you were to just not really care about time, you could get bronze on it. But depending on the tier and everything, getting bronze on an escalation, you're only gonna get maybe 5% chance of legendary. Where as a tier 14, you're gonna get 20% instead of 5%. So that's a huge difference for chances for legendaries. So it's definitely highly recommended to get through them as fast as possible. But for people that are just playing it, 4 hours a day, they're definitely gonna have a harder time trying to complete the game and really enjoy it. So I'm a four time gating, and I'm also against it. It's a it's a thing that Diablo 2 did, and seemed to overall work well for them. Now on to nerfs and buffs for this game. And in my personal opinion, any looter shooter, since it's not competitive whatsoever, unless they do like a random like $1,000 tournament, see how fast you can finish an escalation, whatever. You're not really gonna you're not like really facing anybody to where nerfs are really justified. But I also see where some of them can kind of be decreased a little bit, like as far as DPS goes, or changing Moses grenades in Borderlands 3, which also kind of sucked. But and then also coming out and saying, "Oh, well, we didn't really attend for that to work like that." Well, then why the hell do you have replenish ammo in the game if you didn't attend for that to work like that? Like if you actually attended people to run out of the ability to reload and then not have that high DPS for a good 30 seconds of gameplay. So it's just a little weird when companies do that. I do say that with nerfs, there should be a lot of buffs. I mean, obviously when the first nerf came out, obviously they messed with Technomancer, they messed with blighted rounds on the Trickster, and they I think they messed with volcanic rounds on the Pyromancer. It didn't seem like they did anything to the Devastator. I didn't see any damage buffs for the anomaly abilities, which hopefully they do that. And the simple fact that there's really not a lot of mods that increase anomaly power, like firepower, it's kind of heartbreaking to see that. There is a mod to increase anomaly power, but you seriously need to get a critical hit on an enemy to increase your anomaly power. What the fuck? Like as you guys can see in the gameplay, I'm not aiming. I am just randomly shooting my gun. Actually, I just aimed right there. But I'm mostly randomly just aimlessly shooting my gun just to deal dish out lightning damage with the mod. Other than that, I'm usually not aiming. So hopefully they can add a few more mods to the game to kind of help anomaly builds out. I do get too also with like a devastator. You you usually are running mods just to increase the amount of times you can use your ability, or increase obviously earthquakes range or whatever. But I would like to see more mods focus more on anomaly. That way you can kind of get into the numbers of some of these weapon builds. And I do get, yes, it is would be a little crazy to hit enemies for 1.5 mil with earthquake, especially since you can hit all of them with earthquake. I'm not saying that we need to do that, but I'm saying earthquake from how I'm right now on this build that I'm running, which has been a phenomenal build running through tier 14 and tier 15, and it's all purple gear. I think my earthquake hits anywhere from like 330 to 360 when they're fully debuffed. But other than that, like it would definitely be nice to see the numbers go up just a little bit. And now that we're on the escalations and everything, and since no one can really play multiplayer right now, when you are able to play multiplayer, holy hell, the enemies are so tanky. It is a huge difference from going to single player to playing with a group, just playing with a friend, not a group of three, just a friend. And I don't know exactly how this whole system works, but and I was talking to a buddy about this. I really think there's just a solo and then multiplayer. So if you are gonna play multiplayer, you want two people. You don't want two because like obviously, I think the enemies are a little bit weaker, but it's just better to have three because I don't think their armor or health changes with a third person. I think it just changes as soon as you get into multiplayer, which is a little weird. So I don't really have the answer for that, but that's just how I feel about it, and I really can't find things on multiplayer about that stuff. Mostly because really no one's really been playing multiplayer because all the issues for this game is basically due to multiplayer. So we'll leave that for another video. And obviously, the last order of business: should you buy the game? Should you play the game? I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you guys haven't bought the game, wait on it. Wait another couple weeks to see if this whole inventory issue gets solved. Obviously, I'm still going to be grinding away on the game on solo because it at this point, this game has basically, you know, play at your own risk. I want to hear your guys' opinions down in the comments down below. That's pretty much going to be it for the video, guys. There's not a lot to say about the game. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I've really enjoyed the time I played on it, but there's so many problems going on at the same time. So I'm kind of on the fence on this game, just like I was with Anthem. And just like with Anthem, I mean, this game just came out, so we'll give it another week or two to see how everything kind of finalizes and go from there. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.